to our first of two Miramars back to back. Bit of a change of scenery, change of play style, and potentially a change of the teams that will go head to head in the hot drops. A lot of storylines that will be developing over the course of this one, so let's ease into it.
Over from that southwest side up towards the northeast, and yeah, we'll see where these teams do end up dropping. Is there any hot drops to be seen here? Second to last game to play today. So for some of these teams, I think for them it feels like, God, we're finally getting towards the end of what has been a hellish day for us. Let's just finish it out as strong as possible, get some more points on the board, reset coming to tomorrow. Stalwart on A7 on the other hand, they want to maintain this momentum as long as possible today, whilst they're feeling hot, whilst they're feeling warm, and try and get as many points as possible to create that buffer for themselves, which honestly has already started to appear for both these teams.
Oh, it really has. The difference we're seeing already is huge for you. You know, even if you had a bit of a slow start first game tomorrow, you can think about it, compartmentalize it, and say, well, we've racked up a lot of points yesterday with the plays. Let's now ease back into it. Does a lot for the mental game, makes your life a little bit easier, and that's one of the factors that can do a lot of damage to you in a game like PUBG Mobile. If you can't keep your head clean, keep the bad thoughts out in terms of downplaying your own achievements, it makes it so much harder to come out swinging into day 2, into day 3. The more and more it compounds, knowing how much those points matter and knowing you've got less and less chances to secure them. But overall, a little bit cleaner on the drops, at least to a degree.
Yeah, but it's Alpha 7 and Mad Bulls all both dropping over towards here in El Pozo. And again, we've already seen today that Mad Bulls has just not dealt with these hot drops the way that they would have liked. Honestly, I don't think Mad Bulls are a bad hot drop team. I just think they get too caught up in the commotion. They lose players in the process when it might have been best just to split the loot evenly and then just leave with all 4 players still intact, right? So I think for Mad Bulls, this is very doable. They feel a little bit more confident after that last match, after holding on in what was a pretty difficult situation, a pretty difficult side of the circle as well. So this might be a good chance for them to carry things forward and not get too involved in this engagement between them as well as Alpha 7 in the future. In the meantime, we've got towards the central side. It's Stalwart in Hacienda del Patron, just the north edge of Power Grid. Next to them is Loops, but a great place to start for Stalwart.
And that sentence could probably end there. You know, Stalwart themselves have just been great over the course of the day. So if they're feeling confident with their drop early, ease into it, grinning, they're probably going to have a good run of things. For Bra, this is probably the nicest start to a game they've had all day. This is one of the few times where they haven't had to just duke it out from the minute the starting pistol goes off, right? Them versus DX became a very obvious clash of confidence again and again, basically ending, I think, in a final scoreline of 2-1. But there were no real winners for the most part. Brad definitely coming out on the worst side of it with some of the plays that were made in the Battle of Pachinki that went on back over on Erangel. At least here you get a moment to ease in, breathe that fresh, sandy air, and fill your lungs with a day of games.
For them, this is nice. They have been pretty overzealous with it, right? They take Pachinki, central place of the map. They take Picardo, central place of the map. It is slightly greedy in that sense, and I think that if you have Picardo to yourself, maybe you can think about giving up Pachinki and Erangel. But I do also see the side of it that you play 3 Erangels every day as opposed to just 2 Miramars. So for Bra, it's kind of a case of, look, that Pachinki slot is actually so important to us. But today, really, nothing's been resolved over in that spot. If it's been a case of 3 for 3 on the side of Bra Esport, if I was DX, I'd just go home. I'd send somewhere else. DX have gone 3 for 3. Bra Esport, I think they still would have gone there, which is the real issue from this team, is that they are just massively pushing this narrative of that they belong in Pachinki. I think at some point you just got to think to yourself whether it's worth it or not. And I think we will see that tomorrow. If something doesn't change, I'm not going to be too happy about Bra's performance, because I really thought that they would be shooting up the rankings. Currently, only 6 points.
Yeah, it's just rough, man, right? Because obviously we kind of, laid out the story on the second Erangel, where you saw that even when they were able to win control of Pachinki, it took far too much time because DX were willing to just play defensive angles that you have nothing to work with. You're not walking away with an opportunity to have 4 limbs, maybe get a high placement out of it, keep the good times rolling. You're limping out of there with a few limbs under the belt and not much to show for it. And you can't do that, 2 days running, especially blank. You just can't do it. It's not worth the risk for the amount of points choreographed over the amount of days of play you actually have for this group. And like we said, right, this is one of our more competitive groups in terms of all of the teams here, realistically, some slightly more than others, can definitely take chicken dinners on any given day. So to throw away those opportunities when they're given to you is not worth it. But we'll come back to that. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe with the downtime, they'll be able to change face. You can see already a lot of the footnotes are being pulled out for different teams. We saw with Mad Balls, very drilled in terms of going over what they know, reviewing the facts with coach. The BTR was pulling out all the info, and they were going through those sheets upon sheets of anti-strats, it felt like. So maybe that will be enough of a game changer for a team like Mad Balls. Maybe that's something we'll see in the downtime between tomorrow and when the games kick off again, if there is adjustments. Because being balls that are just clashing head-to-head with the horns over and over again, it feels like in this sort of situation, it's a bit frivolous, right? It's a little bit silly this late into a competition.
I did enjoy the fact that when they pulled out those notes for Mad Balls, it was literally just reams upon reams of paper. I don't know how they even get through it all in the 7 minutes that they had between each match, but I at least respect that there's some serious note-taking going on the side for the Mad Balls. And they do look like they're here to really put on a big performance. Obviously only 15 points now, easily remedied in this game. Currently on the western side as Falcons approach them. They're coming up from La Driera and Valdemar at the moment, with our circle kind of centering over towards water treatment. So a lot of different positions this could end up, and I think a lot of them, most teams would be happy to see at this point in time.
Okay, so Bra here having a little bit of the lay of the land. They've spotted some commotion from a few of the Evo's players and at least caught wind of them. Aren't over-egging the pudding, though, in terms of the spacing. Playing inside the compound, keeping their noses clean to a degree. Few bullets going to be spat towards him from Misery as he peeks up from the ledge and inflicts a little bit of damage. So they do scuttle further back, turtle up a bit and play on the compound that they've got. And this is a bit of a split that you've got to work with for Evos as well. Basically a 2-1 in terms of the angles they're watching towards the compound.
Yeah, I think for Evos are actually pretty used to moving through this area with relative ease, honestly, because a lot of times we see them over towards the eastern side of the map, passing through El Azahar. So for Evos, this is a bit of a change of pace for them coming from their region. They've got teams behind that they need to worry about, and this is a lot of times what most teams make a mistake of when you do play this spot, is that, yes, you want to push through this chokehold, which is up towards this north side of them, but you've also got to be very concerned about teams coming out from Puerto Paraíso, coming out from Los Leones, and over towards Minas Generalis. So I think for a lot of these teams, there comes a point where you just have to shake hands and realize, look, we need to move to a better position. We can both just make our way forward and call this quits for now, at least.
Don't tunnel vision too much in a situation like this, because you can see already everyone's got their eyes on the prize, which is getting yourself into center zone as quick as possible and playing with space that you're going to be happy with. So everyone's on the move. Straight looking like Mad Max at this point as the convoys are on the road. You've got the setup here again from Reject Tokyo, catching whiff of the drive-by as DX will give them a little bit of info. They've spotted them on the way in, fire off the warning shots, but that seems to be all they are. The quest, though, it's not been a warning, it's just an engagement. They're taking shots from Alter Ego. 2 connections, it seems there. Tiaba as well on the hill. Just looking to just bullet down range on this one. And not really having too much contest back from it, relatively unscathed in the encounter and just able to cause a little bit of commotion and weave their way around, potentially chasing down here. You've got good high ground as well, so they're aware of the situation in terms of the spacing. Chopper fired a single bullet back there, it looked like, as at least they will be able to get a bit more of a read on this.
Yeah, it's not a bad spot for Tiamba, but they have to leave at some point, right? At the moment, this is sort of just gaining information, giving themselves a nice position to play with going forward, but eventually they will have to slide on in towards a circle, just taking a shots at a couple of these players roaming through. On the other hand, this Alter Ego has been signing a lot of boxing contracts over towards the central side of the circle, taking shots to lots of teams and flushing players in the process, so not bad at all. One of the players is very low, though. Will have to be brought back up to full HP sooner or later. You can see that's Fnatic, who's been the one taking a few pot shots over towards Loops, as well as I believe it was Quest, as Al-Haji got taken down. Their best player, mind you.
He's been looking all right coming into today's games. You know, we've really seen him kind of being the opener for the team into a lot of those fights where he takes quite confident engagements and did do a good job of finding the odd elim here and there. So struggling to have him alive into this one might make it even harder for Quest. Quest have felt like consistently, though, in terms of the team play, they've been really unlucky in terms of some of the rotates. They've been leaving themselves in positions where you don't have a clear path ahead of you, and you do have to fight tooth and nail to get much out of it. So it's been a bit unlucky for them, especially here, down to a triple threat already. We'll see what they can do. It's only a couple points between 6th and 4th place at the minute. The difference of 2 points between Evos and Quest with the placements we've seen from either side.
Yeah, proper grim march coming through for the guys on Quest. Absolutely agree with you 100% there. It's like just not a good time for them whatsoever. The map's gone wrong. It looked like it was only 2 miles. Turns out it was 10 on most of their rotations. And just feeling tired and sore by the end of it. Gladiators, on the other hand, up towards that northern edge, start to move down towards Quest position. They're still on the outside of the circle as it heads over towards that western side, looking at San Martin, a Hacienda del Patron too. So a lot of buildings in this area, in fact. So kind of less of this gameplay we see on Miramar, where it's very open, a lot of ridges, a lot of little defilades that are set up with vehicles as well. But this is a bit more of those urban finishes, playing around the buildings, playing around these wall sets. But getting in here is the difficult part, because there is still a lot of those ridges, those horrible hills that you've got to get through. So you need those vehicles to move on over, set yourself in a position where you can just inject inwards towards a good position in the circle. Right now, Falcons feeling fairly happy with their spot, leaving it to get through towards that east side. It'll be pretty restrictive though.
Loops again here as well, finding opportunities to strike at the right moments. A bit of damage being established across. They're actually really hard committing onto this one, even finding shots up on towards Stalwart as Action takes a hit from the side. So Loops coming alive again. They have thrived whenever it goes into aggressive situations. You can see they're very confident in their individual gun skill and a lot of the quick decision-making sort of plays. Very confident to hit their marks. And it's paid off now and then for them. It's just about trying to get it a little bit deeper in terms of the placement, see if they can thrust themselves a bit further up the standings. Rotates for a few of the teams coming in now as well, but you're breathing down each other's necks. You can see here with a compound control that's set up with the 2 buildings, just towards the back line, man. There's a lot on the line on this one.
Cardozen actually just almost fell, and if you went down on the rooftops there, it might give it a big opportunity for Tiamba to maybe move a little bit further forward. Instead, they just take this longhouse, they're going to play around it, see if they can get some pot shots over towards Loops. But with a position over towards Hacienda, you can play a lot of those rooftops, you can play a lot of these walls as well. Makes it difficult to get in towards you. The real difficulty is when you start to get a lot of teams in this location. There's only so many spots that you can hold down. There's only so many of these rooftops you can play as well without being spotted out by maybe a different angle. So we'll see if the circle does move further over towards that eastern side. I haven't seen a Hacienda del Patron finish in some time, and I'd be pleased to see it here. Mad Bulls did lose a player though, Jackie, to Gladiators no less, over on this northwest edge, as they've slowly trundled around trying to find some kind of position in the circle where there is maybe just a little crevice to squeeze on through.
It's a scary thing for me as well, because I feel like for both of those sides, we know they've got pedigree even, for the games that we've seen them play over the regular season, Blank. But at the minute, coming into making quick decisions and having the confidence to back it up, it feels like it's not there. And I just don't quite get it as well. For Mad Balls especially, a lot of the time, even in situations where you can see they're in a spot where they've got control, when they actually have bullets, they should be able to do a nice amount of damage. But it's not quite as quick as you used to. It's not as snappy. And a lot of our other squads we're seeing from other regions here are just being able to thrive in the awkward combat where they have to go for a rapid crash, where they have to go for a quick adjustment. You're fighting on bad map geometry. You don't have many nades, but they still look confident. They still look willing to make those over rotates, those risky plays. For Mad Balls, it almost feels like they back themselves into a corner, giving way too much respect that isn't going both ways. Here, at least they get into more of a fight that they're a little bit more familiar with as they go up versus the Gladiators. The clash is coming out as they're pounding their chests inside of the building. Battle back goes to either side as they're losing numbers across the board, and this might just cripple both of the squads on the outcome of this one. Nades being thrown, but the pin isn't going to be enough to stop Zerich as he unloads, and he does stop Gladiators in their tracks. So they survive this clash, but even then, you're still going to have to rebuild, re-get that health into a position where you can actually work off the back of it and fight down numbers with a triple threat squad.
Mate, going up a 3v4 versus the Gladiators, not easy at the end of the day for the Mad Bulls. And well played to him, but again, just lukewarm on that push coming through from the Gladiators. Absolutely. The speed at which they took that fight as well with the Gladiators gave them so much time to reassess the scenario that they were in, because Alpha 7 looked dangerously close to going for a third party in that situation. But clean pickups from Zerich, as always, on the flank. Just ruins the day from Gladiators. And again, it reads back into what you were saying before, Jackie, about the speed at which these teams switch gears. And they had that knockover towards Mad Bulls. And there just seems to be a bit of a communication error coming through over towards Gladiators, because the amount of time it took for them to just go, let's push that. They'd already got the res. Someone needs to call, we have to push now. You push in whilst the res is still going off. You're into a 4v2, way more manageable to deal with. But if it takes you that long to decide you're going to push a compound, don't push the compound.
It's weird, man. It's one of those where almost you sort of call it the old boy effect, where it feels like sometimes you just need one guy in the squad that is just giving it the big one, giving it some welly and saying, look, we need to dive on this. We need to commit to this. And at the minute, that killer instinct, it feels like it's lacking. It really does. Whereas a lot of our other squads, they're proving that in every single battle they're going into. The posturing looks like they're ready to pounce at any given moment. It's very aggressive, but it's smart decision making. It's a worrying sign. I know it's day one. I know it's still early doors for the group overall, but it's something that you have to fix over the course of these games, and it doesn't feel like it's changed. From game one to where we are now, Mad Balls out with 3 limbs, that's all you get. It's still a little bit better than the tiny pieces of pie they were squirreling away with the first games, but we are in game 4. We are in a risky predicament now. It's the 5th game of the day even as well, so it's so much harder for you to accumulate those points. And as the battle continues, you're looking at DX trying to survive the all-out clash they've been thrown into. Bra Esports just swooping down and putting bullet strays into them. Falcons with a rotate, looking to try and get out of there as well. Playing up close and personal. 1 DBS versus 4 men. Yeah, we've seen this work sometimes, but you've really got to make misplays to give him a chance to survive on it. Tucks into the corner, dipping from the nade. Dive round on the peak, trying to draw his crosshair off the angle, and they just overwhelm him.
There's 3 players jumping up and down behind the wooden wall, just spraying. I don't think anyone survives that situation. So I had to hit that first initial shot to even have a chance there. But happy days for DX. They get in. I'm pleased with that one. Pajiza Evos over towards that eastern side. Do take a knock from Alter Ego, who just picked up a pretty open compound off on the eastern side. But it is looking sort of like a Hacienda del Patron finish, and Loops is chuffed to bits about this one. Practically no one playing on this northern edge either over the Malise Esports, so they're comfortably just laying down the law on this south side, pulling out the revolver, holding people back. It's great news to see. BRA still struggling to push their way through, but this is interesting. Evos taking the fight to Alter Ego.
Okay, a battle of 2 squads that have had some big plays today. Let's see how far they can take it. And actually now onto Stalwart as well, as it seems like a attention is split into two different directions for that one, as there will be a bit of a tag across. Zuxi firing bullets down range as well, seeing if they can tag up on, well, knowing they're close in the smoke. Luxy, he's got nades to play with. Dashes one close, little bit of HP, wiped off for Rosemary. He's got smoke still surrounding him, but he begins to back off. Tries to get out of there, at least for now. But actually, it's another third party entering into this one. So any chance of changing your direction, turning tail and ducking out of there gets a whole lot harder. And they're very fragmented. Look at Origo's positions now. Basically playing all individual spots with not much map geometry to give them any cover for a rotate.
There's a nice volley coming from Luxy as well. Forces Rosemary off that position. He gets picked up as he tries to retreat. Alpha 7, Senab less remaining. And it really does feel like Stalwart too big to handle here for Alpha 7. They push in, and this is 2 for 2 now. Alpha 7 versus Stalwart just getting ripped to pieces. That is sad to see. You just cannot deal with the Mongolian massive over on Stalwart so far. Zia tries to get out with their team. It is Earths who's down. RNJ and Shop are still alive, trying to deal with the team of Aegon I8, who is quite literally trying to crawl away from this one.
It feels like Stalwart just never miss a nade. When it matters so much, they hit them every time. Molly's prime position, grenades right on your lips. They just do not stop, man. And even the gun skill. Some of these situations, we've seen them making some real big plays. Good understanding of where they could be pushed from at a spot like this as well. A little bit of map control for them to work with in terms of the spacing between the other sides. Quest way off towards the backside there. You got the big clash with the close grouping of a magnitude of teams as well, all up against one another. Remember, this fight started with Origo taking on Evos. Since then, everyone's been taking a jab at each other.
Again, it's only going to get harder now with the circle moving further towards that north side. And all that sanctuary that can be found on the south edge of Hacienda del Patron, it's just gone. And it's only really Loops who's going to be reaping the benefits off the back of that, just holding teams out. So DX, Tiamba, Bra, as well as Pajiza, Evos are all going to struggle going forward. Down to 2 players as well at Evos, still trying to deal with the remaining members from Alter Ego as they were pushed back time and time again. It's Zuxi and Misery to try and finish this one out. No util remaining, just a Molotov here for Zuxi.
Really limited on that utility that can be a bit of a backbone for them. Again, though, finding pickups and really taking it to new heights when it comes to eliminations, as they've already racked up 8 in this one. It's Stalwart. As the Mongolia Mandem, they are winning every fight they're thrown into. It's insane how confident they look into a lot of these. And you can see the distance they're taking it to other teams from as well. They feel like they've got breathing room, so they're just putting bullets down range, softening up everyone, making everyone's lives a little bit more awkward here. For Zuxi, he's the human embodiment of that. There is nothing more rough than this situation. Nade after nade, he's being battled down upon. He's basically trapped on his last legs blank, probably hoping that this one ends soon.
Yeah, I mean, for him, it's likely an idea of try get towards top 8, but looking more and more unlikely as he does huddle himself up into the shack. BRA getting taken down by DX. Damn, that's gotta hurt, man. That's a stinger right there. Not only over on Erangel are they dealing with you, over here on Miramar, you don't even drop close to them. They're still hampering you down. And I think as soon as they tried to paint a target on the back of DX, it was all over from there. Vendetta was formed from this team.
And you're so right. Those are the sort of plays that get to you. Even if you think you've got a strong mental game as a squad, they get under your skin. Especially when we run it all back tomorrow and they've got to go head to head. If there's a hot drop in play between those two, it is going to get nasty. The brass knuckles will be being pulled out, but right now the punches are still being thrown all around. It's also nades that are being dashed, explosions all over the gaff, trying to close the distance here. High ground control for Loops. They want to close the spacing on this one though. Look at the confidence for the push up, playing on the edge of the smoke. They're lit there with the Molotovs to support, nades on top of it. None of these quite connecting onto the Loops players, so they're still able to hold, whereas the situation is getting worse the longer it goes on for Tiamba.
Yeah, some of these nades have been somewhat on target here. It's another good one coming through from Cheap, but majority of the util's gone at the moment. QZZ still taking some decent shots, but not enough. That's going to be a massive nade. Puts them down out of a light just like that. And now Loops, this is where things start to count a whole lot, because they've held on to Hacienda del Padron for a while and just been waiting for the ruckus to start coming through to deal with a lot of these teams. In the meantime, though, DX has played a marvelous game. They slowly encroach into Hacienda del Patron whilst they realize the guys from Loops are occupied on that eastern edge, and now they have control. This is fantastic.
Elimination leaders at the minute here as well, with 9 besting the total tally that Stalwart had of 8 at the minute over the course of our opening Miramar. Late into the day, but still giving it their all. Easy, lurking, waiting for a chance to strike. If they don't find him on this and give up a little bit too much space, encroaching down, using a vehicle as cover, he could wide swing on it, has a DBS to work with as well. Here comes the peak. First contact works well. Double pump into him. Hard committing for the first onto the knock player rather than prioritating tops. Gonna swing again. Tries to get it done. Low HP, but still punishing Blank. He's ruining their lives at this point, especially with the amount of damage done on the end of that one. Oh, that's gonna be painful.
Mate, problematic coming through from Easy. He really waited for his moment there, and I just don't think the guys from Stalwart were ready for it. Maybe because they're all holding Mini 14s in hand. Looks like that's the case. DMR's a claw. So realistically, they had nothing to deal with him when they got close quarters like that. They do switch out to the DBS now just because it's going to be more essential for them in this late game than a DMR when they know it's pretty open ground ahead of them. Really smart stuff. Nerzed, though, again, nades over the top towards DX, who I think have had a really good shot in this match, a really good run. But Stalwart, is it a question of whether they can win this game now? Because I think it's pretty significant if they can.
It would be unbelievable, especially from kind of the sheer back and forth we've seen, where it feels like they're riding the high and then suddenly brought back down to earth. For Nerzed to come off the back of his team nearly being completely severed in half by a DBS, to reinstigating the fight, getting good contact into a knock onto another squad ahead of him, and that's DX no doubt as well, who have been proving how good they can be into this one. It's crazy that he's able to slip straight back into flow state, go back into playing point man, and keeping the pressure on. He's doing so much for creating space. It feels like he's 2 players in one, Blank, just with how much map control he commands.
He's got 2 faces, this lad, you know. He's playing all the cards at the moment. If SDE do win this game, though, it is a winner chicken dinner record on the day for PMGC, broken in the first bloody day. It's insanity. And right now, it's looking more and more likely that Stalwart can pull this off.
The history is in their hands at the minute. Just don't fumble the bag. Don't make a misplay. Nerzed, he's been giving it his all, man, with some of the maneuvers, but it's not just him. Like we've been saying, this squad has so much talent. Right now, Loops are just playing into them, Blank. They look scared. They're trapped in a box like a moth in a bathtub. They can't find their way out, and they are just being decimated. Bullets downrange again and again. The Mongolian side keeping the dream of a third chicken dinner alive on this one, as they are showing up on Miramar.
This is ridiculous so far. Mate, just the fact that, like, Nerzed, go deal with the guys over towards DX. You just deal with that. You go for the 1v3. Tops will go for the 1v3 over towards Loops. And Icy will deal with Malise Esports. They're single-handedly, each player, taking down one team one at a time. This does not happen ever in PMGC.
This is incredible. The fact that this is happening right now, right here in front of us, everyone on land sitting in awe, feeling the sheer level of lethality that is being shown by Stalwart. It's like you're saying, one man's all it takes. One divided between the 3 squads that were alive, and they're holding down the line, hitting pot shots from a distance, picking themselves back up from what felt like a misplay. When they got swung on up close with the DBS, it felt like the goodnight kiss, but instead they're still in it to win it on this one. Now closing the gap. You can see the rotate coming in. Low HP on some of the players. The nade game dwindling down to an all-time low, but Smoke's there. Stalwart have time to play with on this one. They can make it uncomfortable for the remaining squads. They've got numbers, Blank, and if they continue to hit shots like they have been, they could write the history books here.
It's the disciples of DX and Malise Esports trapped in a room with a grandmaster so far as Icy looks to finish off the remaining members from Malise. His target, his assassination coming through here over towards the team. Kisyu goes around the side and Icy still playing him for a fool at the moment. Peeks out, good shots, a lot of damage done. Might go down here but needs to at least take down CEO later. Finds one, gonna continue to go here, Jackie.
How on earth has he been able to outplay them in a situation like this? They had the timing on the spacing. When he went for the first shot with the AR,